as competitors, as Olympians, your reaction to the news in the last hour?
Well, I strongly disagree with this decision. And, first I would like to say that Camila is only 15 years old. She is a minor, and I know firsthand what it's like just competing at an Olympic Games at 15 years old. I remember the overwhelming feelings and pressure that I felt. And for a young person, that's a lot to deal with. But with that being said, clean sport is the only thing that matters at an Olympic Games. And what we love about an Olympic Games is that we get to marvel at humans pushing athletic limits and doing the impossible, but with one caveat: to do it fairly and cleanly.
I have to condemn this decision with every ounce of my soul. The Olympics has to be clean, or it's not fair. If you won't play fair, then you can't play. It doesn't matter how old you are or the timing on when the test results have come in. You have to be responsible for what happens to your body and to compete at the Olympics. This is a slap in the face to the Olympic Games, to our sport, and to every athlete that's ever competed at the Olympics clean. It's hard to make it to the Olympics, and anybody that will try to find the easy way out is in the wrong and should not be able to compete at the Olympics.
Hey guys, let's straight talk here with everyone, because Johnny, you spent a lot of time in Russia, so you really have deep feelings and respect for not skaters around the world. You both do. Dick Pound, who is a longtime member of the IOC board, he pointed out that maybe it's time for Russia to have a timeout in the Olympics. We have to remind everyone, they are the ROC, the Russian Olympic Committee, in competition because of a state-sponsored Russian doping scandal that traces back to Sochi in 2014. And essentially, they can't use Russia and their flag in the Olympics because of that. So that casts a whole cloud here. And that's what I want to drill down on here with you, Tara, because you brought up the age, 15. You won the gold at 15. You've both been skating internationally back when you were teenagers. One of the words used in the decision, I just want to quote it correctly here, was the athlete is a, quote, protected person. She's not 16 years old. So they look at the people around them to see, are they influencing by giving them things that they should not be using? Can you take me to being teenage skaters? Or do you have an awareness at that point in your career about what you can and can't put in your body regarding banned substances?
I certainly did. I started drug testing at 11 or 12 years old, and I just knew that it was protocol. It came along with the territory. Even if I had a mild cold, I remember my mom calling someone to make sure that I was taking the proper medication, and I myself would be nervous to even eat a poppy seed bagel when I was competing.
My first drug test was when I was 13, and from then until my 20s, for the rest of my career, I had to be accountable for every hour of every day and submit calendars to 2 different doping agencies, so that I was responsible for both my time at competition and out of competition. And my mom, if I got sick, my mom would have to call a hotline to find out if I was actually able to take a medication to make me feel better or not. So even from a very young age, to compete at this level, you are aware that what you put into your body is important and it can change your life in a negative way.
All right, let me ask you about the specific drug in question, trimetazidine. It's a heart medicine. It's been on the banned substance by WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, for quite some time. Look, the three of us aren't scientists, but we've been asking questions. You folks know about these different substances that get discussed. The quads that the Russians do. Johnny, you came back from Russia, told us the Russians could sweep the podium in the women's skating because they're doing all these quads. Given what you know about the drug as you've heard about it, and what you know about skating, what it takes to do a quad, can you connect the two? Do you think that this could help her or other skaters do all these quads that have everyone wowing about their ability on the ice?
So I can say this: you do not need performance-enhancing drugs to do a quad. Obviously, this substance affects endurance and stamina, and this is not my expertise. If it helps her do more quads, if it helps her do quads in the second half of her program, can she train more quads? But we do have examples of athletes that have landed a quad cleanly and fairly. 20 years ago, Miki Ando was the first woman to land a quad in 2002. We've seen Alyssa Liu from the United States landing quads at just 13 years old.
But to be fair, it's on a banned substance list for a reason. And while we're not scientists, as former athletes, we have to adhere to the code set out before us. That is the fair way to do it. That is what clean sport is. and that is so that everyone is on the same playing field.
And Johnny, it's been on that banned list for a while. I want to come back to why this is such big news. And for the viewers who weren't with us for the team event last week, Johnny, you went over, you watched these skaters, you got to see them perform, which is rare for people, especially in this pandemic time, to be able to get a look at this. You both were effusive in your praise of her skating in the team event. You marveled to the point that it may be as good a skater as you've ever seen. Does that add to any of the attention and the feelings here, because what you all saw was something you've rarely seen from a figure skater in her career?
Well, I was trained by Russian coaches. I skated in Russia, and recently I went to Moscow to profile the group of Eteri Tugridze, the coach of Kamila Valieva, Anna Sherbakova, and Alexandra Trusova, the 3 Russian women that we'll see in this competition. And of course, when you go to somebody's house for dinner, they put out the good china. I wasn't exposed in my career or when I was just over there to anything with doping. However, the Russian Olympic Committee is competing as the Russian Olympic Committee for a reason, and there are things that I may not be exposed to but don't know if they actually happen or not. And the shame of all of this is that this is a minor. She's a 15-year-old young woman, and she's sublimely talented. But now, being a skater and being a part of this community, you have to go back and reevaluate those emotions, those feelings that you had about this skater. And you have to dig deep and figure all this out. I mean, there's definitely more questions than answers at this point, I think, for everybody in the skating community. And this is really hard news to take for anybody that has ever competed in a sport. And then for us hoping for a future for the Olympic Games, who's going to want to let their kids take part in a sport that could be rigged?
And regardless of age, of timing, of results, at the end of the day, there was a positive test. And that skater should not be able to compete at the Olympic Games. And for me, I think it will leave a permanent scar on figure skating.
And Tara, I'm glad you said that, and I appreciate what you both said, because I want to read one last point from the release from the Court of Arbitration for Sport. They said that preventing the athlete Valieva, in this case, from competing in the Olympic Games would cause her irreparable harm in these circumstances, because the discipline is there. There's not enough time for her to mount a case. As we said, she's not 16, she's 15, so she's not a quote protected person. That's all well and good, but what if she does have this drug in her system? What if she did test positive for it in the Russian Championships on Christmas Day? Wouldn't that do irreparable harm to the other skaters involved as they come out and skate in these Olympic Games? So that speaks to the point that you both were making so eloquently as those who've competed on the Olympic stage, that this is your one shot. This is what you work for, and if it's not clean and safe in terms of the legality of the systems of the drugs that are in the systems of the athletes, I should say, then we all sit here with questions, and it doesn't do anything for the Olympic movement. I appreciate you both coming in late here on this Sunday night. I know it'll be a busy week, and there'll be a lot to talk about, but thank you both. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to share